on its head. So instead of you got the boy saving the girlfriend, you've got the girl saving the boyfriends. So this is gonna be a fun ride, I think. Sorry for the pause there. So I think if everyone's good and ready, we'll get this started. So let's see, I got a timer going. So all right. So I'll do the countdown. So we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. So yep, if I need to adjust the audio, let me know. So we find out that the boyfriends, which are Kunio and Ricky, and find out they're kidnapped, so we gotta escape to school and try to go find them and save them. Alright, audio's good? Excellent. Awesome, thanks for the good luck, B. So what's really cool is people might be familiar. I mentioned Kunio. There's a whole series, I like to say, oops, I want to forget this piece of money over here. There's a whole series of Kunio-kun games. And like I've said, if you might be familiar with For the Seed Ransom. And in Japan, it was actually called Danton Neketsu Monogatari. Because early days of gaming, they often changed Japanese names to more Western names. In fact, with Kunio and Ricky, they were called Alex and Ryan in River City Ransom. So you can block, but unfortunately there are some attacks you cannot block. Sometimes that happens where you start your punches and they jump, which makes them fall immediately, which is unfortunate because you're not able to get as much damage as you want.
I wonder who took Kunio and Ricky. I wonder who sent us that text message. Yeah, huh? Check your phone, Kyoko.
So initial strategy here when enemies is you do 3 light hits and then a heavy. That gets you the next damage, and you want to try the best you can to group up the enemies, because the more enemies you hit at once, the more damage you do. So different strategies we try to do to try to get enemies together. There's Hasabe Mame, the girl rivals of Kunio and Masako.
But they're crazy.
And as a kid, you probably see I'm playing Masako. And both girls have some similar moves, but also some different moves. And they play differently. I would say Masako is easier to speedrun than Kyoko, but a lot of people consider that Kyoko has the potential to be better.
Until bricks explode right towards you. Wow. Now do you understand?
As you can see, enemies like to block too. And some enemies definitely block more than others, and cheerleaders especially really love to block sometimes. And basically you gotta... Oh, fortunately to get into the doors. That's enough. There we go. That's one unfortunate thing we have to deal with speedrunning, is, we only defeat enemies if we have to, and so it takes a little bit of time to open a door, and unfortunately you can be attacked. Thought I blocked in time. Unfortunately you can be hit while you're trying to enter the door, and it's actually interesting because there was a big patch that happened back in about January. That they made some changes. Used to be able to just enter a door right immediately. But that was kind of a problem for casual gaming, because the same button to open a door and talk to NPC characters was the same button for light attack. So people play casually, they might be near a door and they attack and they go through the door instead. But when you speedrun, you know where to not do that. But unfortunately it adds time a little bit, and as I mentioned, you can get attacked while entering a door. So often, especially with there's enemies nearby, I'll just by default block, and hopefully I'm facing the right direction. So I kind of mentioned earlier that Kyoko and Masako. One reason I mentioned that Kyoko, Early on, Kyoko is actually a little bit easier to play because you kind of notice, like when I do my cycle here, I do the heavy attack. Sometimes I miss the Masako. If we're playing with Kyoko, it's pretty much hit every time. It's just how their attacks happen. You can still do it, but you just gotta be careful with your timing. So we come to our first boss here, Masako, or not Masako, Masuzu. And like a lot of these characters, they're actually in other Kuryoku games. So in every boss here, we have 3 phases. And each phase, we want to be as efficient as we can to get through each phase. You kind of notice I did a kick and then my cycle. If I hadn't done that, I would have had to do another cycle. And every boss... Alright, here we go. In between each phase, they have to do a kind of a special attack. And you can often like either dodge or sometimes even prevent it from happening. So what she does, she initially tries to she does kind of a burst damage and then she tries to charge you. But you can stop a charge by just hiding behind a pole there. And that's Masuzu. I keep wanting to say Masako.
You're embarrassing me!
But yeah, if I hadn't, as I was able to pull off, if we do an extra light attack, if I hadn't, it would have made the boss fight a bit longer. So we've escaped the school, and we continue our quest to try to find the boyfriends.
So nice to get out of that crappy school. For sure.
As you see there, I missed the heavy attack,
We're looking for our
and
boyfriends, remember?
it's a bit of a timing.
We should ask if they want to go too.
And that also
go find that creepy guy.
comes to account later once we get some abilities that lets us do more damage and start, juggling characters. Sometimes you kind of notice one way I try to group characters up is I kind of go back and forth. Excuse me. There we go. Because when you stomp on the ground, it kind of slowly edges them a certain direction if you hit them the correct way. And also, nice thing about if you go back, if you stop on the other side, because when they jump up, they will try to attack you from the side that you attacked them on. And there's Godai, resident creepy dude. You'll be seeing him a lot more later in the game. He gives side quests, except for the first one, which is part of the main story. So he says, if you give me a double burger, I will tell you more information.
Hey there, buy something, okay?
Some potato snaps and some tomato juice, which increases our agility by a great amount early on. And here we're going to get our main attack we're going to do to help increase our damage and juggle enemies.
Killer.
So you'll see me eat a bunch of different food here, and the first time you eat a piece of food you get a permanent boost to some stats, but it only happens the first time you eat it. Every time after this is just a stamina refiller. So we got our burger, and we're going to talk to Godai. Godai was also in River City Ransom. He was called Tex in River City Ransom, which was, I believe, a optional boss near the end of the game. So now we're going to go and try to go into the mall here. Oh, actually we got a locked room here to do first. These locked rooms with a... we kind of notice that there's a kind of a lock and key, or chain and lock. And basically that means we have to defeat a bunch of enemies before we can move on. One of the ways we skip time is there are several of these we can actually not do. And some are much easier than others. Our first one will be coming up here soon. And I would say it's actually the hardest one in the game. The recruits there, that happens often if an enemy is the last one, they'll often try to beg for their life. But we don't care, because they do a special ability when you use them, but it doesn't really help with speedrunning.
Welcome. Hope you're hungry. Coming right up.
So this first one we're coming up here, the next room after this, basically we're gonna kind of run in, hug the top wall and then try to go inside the door because it's unlocked for a brief time.
Excellent spending.
And also we have to use a turbo juice here. Oh, didn't quite get that run off. I can do one more 2 tries here. Turbo juice lasts a while.
That must be his house.
He's got the keys. Don't wake him up.
Get out of my house!
Didn't quite get it. Normally, if you're playing casually, you would go around clockwise on the different platforms. So, normally, from a speedrun, I make that jump across it. It's a little tricky to jump across there. So, we gotta deal with the room here. Most times, though, if you're not able to pull off a room skip, you can save and restart the game and try again. Most places. Not gonna let you tear gas me, dude. I'm not gonna let you beg either. Also, what's funny, it's really annoying when they try to beg like that, the hitbox gets smaller, and it takes a couple times to try to hit them, unless you jump kick them. That usually hits it. And once again, they try to jump, and... Stop that, man! Don't do that. There we go. Now we're gonna try to jump across here again.
Get out of my house!
Didn't quite make the around that pole there.
Get out of my house!
I went a little too far that time. I got this.
Get out of my house!
There we go. So now we got the keys, and we can now go inside the mall. You can see you have to time yourself with the nutcrackers too, and also that means Kyoko. She has her bump up, it's actually a volleyball bump. Or actually, it's called bass. And that's easier to pull off, but the reason why Misako is easier to speedrun is on bosses, Misako is easier to get through cycles with bosses. There we go. We're gonna couple more turbo juices.
Hey there! Buy something. Got it. Sure thing.
Dodgeball. Alright, we got a key.
Got the keys.
And that's actually Habari. Habari is, not Habari, sorry. That's, Habari's a boss later. That was Hiroshi, I'm sorry. Just looking at my notes. Hiroshi is actually Kunio's best friend in other games, and he was actually also the very first Kunio-kun game. He was the one kidnapped that you were trying to save.
Oh, hey, Hiro.
So I kind of mentioned that there are some room skips that are much easier to do, and actually there's 2 right here. If I go off to the left, just normally, there's a locked room. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to save and restart the game. And when I do that, it puts me at the beginning of the room. Actually, it puts you the side of the room that you entered on. So I just save and restart. And when we do, we'll turn left side and we just go back off to the left. So another one right here, which I accidentally triggered last time, is there's a locked room right there. All you gotta do is hug the bottom and you skip it. That was definitely 2 of the easiest ones. And notice there's these weapons, which if you're playing casual is a lot of fun, you know, whack people with a bench or such, but they are not good for speedrunning. So often, especially if they could be in the way, we will pick them up and move them out of harm's way. Well, not harm's way, I suppose. So we don't actually pick them up. Because we want to do this the whole time.
Oh, hello. Please come in. Okay. Goodbye then.
So we're about to come to our next boss here. And his name is Yamada. AKA, as you'll see, Magic Boy.
Inside, it's so yucky. Yo, Matt.
You can hear the whole name there, Magic Boy. And Yamada here, he is also from River City Ransom. He was the final boss in River City Ransom. So it's cool seeing a bunch of different characters from River City Ransom and other Kunio-kun games. Which most Kunio-kun games were on the NES and Super Nintendo, Megagon from the Super Famicom. So, Cycle here is, as you can see, and then every time we knock him down, he'll teleport behind us and try to Hadouken us, as I like to say, or Kamehameha, you know, whatever you prefer. And he has a couple attacks which we can interrupt if we time it well. Fortunately, I did not get that one, but we just do the same thing, juggle him, do damage, knock him on the ground, teleport behind us, rinse and repeat. Occasionally he'll do a counter like that. Timer font? I think it's the default one for live split, I think. So second attack here, he's going to try to do a laser on the ground. Oh, whoa, actually, no, he's going to do that here in a sec. Alright, I guess he didn't pull it off. If he had pulled it off, it would have been a laser on the ground. And the key with that is, especially speedrunning, you want to let it hit you as fast as possible. It will do damage, but that's better than running around, because the longer the laser is on the ground, the more damage it does. Really casually, if you don't want to let it hit you, you got to run around a bunch before he stops casting it. So we're gonna equip a couple accessories here. They do different things like increase damage to certain time enemies or weapons, but these two are for attacking male and female enemies. We're gonna do another juice box here, or oh, actually, go back in the dojo here. If you're familiar with Double Dragon, you might recognize him. That is Billy of Billy and Jimmy Lee. We'll see his brother later on.
Tube-tacular!
Hey there! Buy something. Okay? Sure thing. Drop by anytime.
No, we do not want to pick up the box. See, we picked up a couple more abilities that lets us do more damage if you time it well. Come on, these either fake or corrupt cops. That guy just wants to run into the boxes, doesn't he? Oh, the font for the 50/50? Oh, that's a good question. That's for the restreamer. So we got two more room skips here.
So this is Uptown, huh? Seems pretty fancy. And
That one was
Judgy.
relatively straightforward. Basically, we walk down, and then basically we walk across when the color changes. Here's one, next one.
Oh, hey, it's Yoko.
Got it first try that. Also, very precise place you gotta walk across there. That is one of the harder ones that's close to pixel perfect, as I say.
Gold taste.
Press eject.
See you soon.
And something that was found by a person Jolting in our community, there is a can't go in there yet. there was a vending machine there, and it found that if you kind of lightly brush against it, it seems to make that skip easier.
Come on, let's find that fashion lady and ask her about the dude in the photo.
Masako?
Something you kind of notice is, because I'm going around so fast, we're going to, interrupt some dialogue. Because we a lot of times just need to trigger it and we can move on. There's one exception where we have to let the dialogue finish, and I'll point that out. That'll be late in the game.
To make that weirdo fashion designer show up.
But we're so poor.
Let's try the pawn shop in the toy district. Maybe we can trade him something.
Like a knuckle sandwich.
Now you're talking.
Also, if you're familiar with Double Dragon, excuse me, that is Linda, Whip Lady from Double Dragon.
This is a pawn shop? Looks pretty empty.
We have to head downstairs. It's in the basement.
Can't we take the elevator?
So we got some pause here. Are there any donations?
Oh, wait, he's broken.
I'm not used to walking this much.
No new donations, but great work. This is a cool game. I've never seen it before, but
Thank you.
it's really fun to watch.
Oh, I love this game. I love this game so much. Something I tell a story about. This is the first vanilla speedrun game I've done. Most of my speedrunning has been Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, which is a fun randomizer. And I typically play RPGs. I typically do not play beat-em-up games. And actually, before this game, I was very bad at them. But what picked me up about this game was because the connection with River City Ransom when I was a kid. Because I loved the idea. Because River City Ransom in this game has some RPG elements, and so I started playing this game and like, hey, this is fun, and hey, let's speedrun it. And it's kind of funny because I thought, if I was going to speedrun a vanilla game, I thought it would be like, Final Fantasy or Lufia or some RPG. No, it's a game from a genre I'm very bad at. So I just love telling that story.
I think that's how it goes for a lot of people. They end up playing the weird. Speedrunning the game they least expected.
I know, it's kind of how like a game just kind of grabs you, It's kind of happens unexpectedly.
Also, you kind of have to be like, I'm gonna set this game aside and absolutely destroy it, so I can never play it casually again.
There we go.
You ever wonder why everyone in our town is so violent?
Nope.
I mean,
It's a nice
everyone's
fourth wall
always
here.
punching and kicking each other.
Well,
Everywhere we go.
well, kind
all
of
day
fourth
long.
wall, but
I guess so.
Kyoko's like,
What's your point?
why is ever noticed that like everyone's fighting each other? Isn't that kind of weird? It's like, and Misako's like, oh, what's wrong with that? I don't see any problem. Early in the game, we kind of had to worry about money, but later in the game, because we get a bunch of money every time we beat a boss, so late in the game we don't worry about money, but this is the last time we worry about money, because there's a couple items we'll be getting in a shop coming up here, and then one item before we take on the next boss. After that, we buy a few more things, but we're never that close to being out of money. But it's definitely crucial early in the game. Kind of sometimes I do kind of a big punch like that. That's not intentional. It does a little more damage, but as you notice, there's a big recoil, and it could be your vulnerable attack during that. Avoid the tear gas.
Welcome to Skullmageddon!
That might be my game. How's my voice? Is my voice louder than his? If my voice is louder than his, I might be able to turn on the game a bit.
Let's move it, Kyoko. No Joko.
Let's see, can you hear me now? Is this better?
Oh yeah, that's much better. Yeah, I was having a little trouble hearing you earlier. I got, when we were talking earlier about speedrunning games, I got most of it. There was a little part I missed, but it's kind of hard to hear. So.
Hopefully, chat and everyone can hear me now. We do have a donation if you have a second.
Yeah, sure. Whoop.
I could wait.
Oh no, it's just the reason why I said oop. You can tell from on the Midwest.
We have a donation from TRS Crazy P. Thank you. He says you're doing awesome, Bahamut.
Oh, thanks, Pete. Thanks for the donation, man. And hey, JDP, a good friend of mine. Thanks for the good luck, man. The reason I said "oop" right there is because there was an item I had to get that was a toy box, or toy alarm clock, which is kind of funny because there's items that increase your damage or your attack, and it lets you eat it, which that doesn't make sense, but you know, it's a game. And the reason why that's critical, because it's one attack power, and if I hadn't gotten that, it adds some time here because it prevents me from one cycling between each phase here. So here's the Bari, which, if you're familiar with a certain type of video game, she might look kind of familiar. At least her styles of attacks. Didn't quite get it that time, but we'll get here to quick. There we go. She'll do that needle attack, which if you time it right, you can have it hit herself, but we don't want to do that because it does no damage, which will get in the way of our cycling. We do not want to get hit by those exploding... there we go. Exploding thread there, because it does a lot of damage, so we want to do our best to avoid it. Here's the next phase. Nice timing in with that other ad. That's interesting. That is her attack for phase 3, and I haven't seen that before. She does it at the very end. There we go. And something you kind of might have noticed is that we're in the chain and lock, which doesn't happen during bosses. And the reason why that happened is when we skipped that room before we entered here, there was a locked room. And basically, if you enter the room right at the same time the lock would happen, it's kind of a little graphical glitch. And this will stick with us until we enter another locked room. So nice little graphical glitch before we move on a little bit later in the game here. So we're gonna enter downtown here, which is different from if we play casually, because if we had taken the secret entrance, we would have appeared above instead of below here, and there's a locked room that we get to skip. Now, if I had been doing all bosses, there's a statue back there, and that is a tricky one to get because Godai is hiding there with a... Do not need this statues here. If I had triggered that side quest, it would have created more locked rooms.
It's a kid.
So we're gonna talk to the kid here and get a couple items.
Please purchase something.
Actually, we're gonna eat a couple items.
Complete.
We don't need any stamina healing items yet. Trigger the dialogue. We'll find out like, hey, somebody's covered with trash. So gotta talk to this guy who is from Kunio-kun. I'm not remembering his name right now. So basically, he's like, find my keys and I'll clear the trash. So we gotta fight these trash zombies.
Trash. Yep.
This day get any more gross.
It's still early.
Ew! I can't believe we're fighting zombies in a trash compactor!
Wanna give up?
For my Ricky? Never!
One cool thing about this company that developed it, Way Forward, they're mostly recently known for the Shentai games, which I know they just came out with one. They're also, I would say famous for, there was a nice little remastered game of DuckTales. They were responsible for that game a while back. Got a couple more rounds. If I don't defeat these fast enough, I'll get crushed by the garbage here. Thankfully, I did it fast enough. So we found some keys, but we find out they're not his keys. He had them in his pocket the entire time. You know how that goes. So, trash is cleared.
Trash
Now,
is gone. Let's head inside.
go head to our next boss.
Let's find out if
And
Kunio and Ricky are down here.
for the Double Dragon, you should recognize this boss too. It is a Bobo, famous Bobo from Double
What are
Dragon.
you two?
I'm just gonna do a kind of punch to the ground here. Just gotta jump, and if they land well, see those little rocks? Thankfully, there was none that was near me, so that's a little bit of RNG. So I was able to hit him right away. So I'm gonna let him pick me up. Otherwise, if you're playing this casually, you try to run away. There we go. So Bobo, I'd say if you're playing casually, it's still pretty difficult, but the big patch that happened back in January or so, he used to be a lot harder. He used to block and various other things. So there were some good things with the patches and some things that made it more difficult for speedrunning. But still, it's a really fun run. I would encourage anyone who enjoys, beat 'em up games, or if you were like me, and if you're not good at beat 'em up games, but it's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this game a lot. Here's a locked room. That would happen right here if I was to move down. You just gotta walk across and you're good. This room's a little difficult. The ceiling's a little low to be able to juggle. And it's also a little inconsistent. I should recognize that guy with his grunting. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. At least I think that's what they're going for. There we go. Next room here is another skippable locked room. We just gotta jump on the ceiling here.
Like 10 showers.
Later.
Please enter. Let us
Pick up a
master
few
the
more
art of
attacks here to
breaking
help our juggling.
We learn attacks
and more
hoping
damage.
to never use them.
And if Kunio
Next room here, we're gonna do a save and reset, but it's not because of a locked room, but there is a very long dialogue. And we're gonna skip that a little bit because the door won't open until the dialogue is finished. Okay, I mentioned earlier that there's one place that you can't interrupt the dialogue. It's actually this room, which we'll come across again a little bit later. It's a little aquarium room here. It took a while to get this down because the aquarium obstructs our view. Because early on you might kind of use visual cues to get the juggling down, but you do enough times, you do it instinctively and by patterns rather than visually. There we go. So we're going to talk to Noise's concierge, and he said he'll give us VIP tickets if we can prove we're her biggest fans. Which we're going to go around here, and these different parts will cause locked rooms, and we can get around them.
Noise's favorite drink.
Look, it's Kaori.
Actually, didn't quite get that jump down. Basically, we kind of jump on that ledge, and we just skirt across. So here's the next one here. We gotta hug the right side here, because we're gonna find out Noise's favorite food.
Hey, check out that sign.
Fatty tuna 50% off?
Now, if I save and reset before this is done, I don't get credit for the favorite food.
Hey, mine too.
Question answered. Come on.
And if I had saved and reset there, it would have caused a soft lock because I wouldn't be able to get the favorite food once again. So that's the one tricky place there. You got to be careful. Another easy save and reset. Oh wait, hold on. I think I might have done a new game by accident. My apologies. A little bit of a autopilot fail, I just like to say. So we're gonna get some food over here.
Ah, it's you.
Some garlic gelato, which sounds really good, right?
Wicked.
And we're getting a couple lasagnas for later. Get a couple here for marathon safety. Let's go escort the outer edge here. Because when you skip rooms that are locked, or have locked rooms, we have to keep skipping them. They won't go away once you skip them.
May I help you?
Hold on here. Because I gotta hug that wall. I can't go too far. Because you can jump on that ledge and go up into it more, but that means you can't jump across, so that's a little tricky. So, once again, if you're a Double Dragon fan, that's Burnoff, who was the first boss in Double Dragon 2.
Well, that's weird.
So we're going to change a couple accessories here. We're going to equip this Frill Bra, and not that one. There we go. The scissors exchanges some agility for attack power, and the Frill Bra, sorry, increases the length of time that you're invulnerable when you get attacked, which we'll take advantage of here. In between each phase here, we'll be, defending against her song, which this may look familiar. But instead of trying to hit the notes, you are trying to avoid the notes. So I like to call it the reverse Guitar Hero. So what I'm going to try to do here, at the very end of the song, I'm going to get hit by one of those notes purposefully. Which, if I time it right, she's going to do a big attack when she lands. Hopefully I can get all the damage I need in the amount of time she's doing that. There we go. So these notes, you can generally skip over 1 or 2. 3 is a lot harder there, so if you're playing this casually, you want to not get stuck on the left to right side, because occasionally there'll be columns of 3 notes that are like more than one across. But if you're good at timing, you can jump in between the notes, but that requires a lot of practice. Like so. Oh, geez, I see it. The guy's like rocking his head back and forth with bulgy eyes. Is that who you're talking about? Pete pointed out to me when I was doing a practice run was that a couple nights ago. That guy looks nuts. Well, I want to say I've, played this, a couple times casually, and you're just so focused on the Guitar Hero, you don't have a chance to look at the sides. Oh, that guy looks wacky. And that was noise. What's kind of fun, if you watch this, the cutscene, you find out that it's actually a connection with Kyoko. Noise was a new student in Kyoko School, and she was, alone, didn't have any friends. And Kyoko, as you can tell already, she was very bumbly, very friendly. Made friends with her, but you find out that Noise felt betrayed by Kyoko because Kyoko disappeared. And the reason why Kyoko disappeared was she was suspended for stealing basketball hoops. So, if you get to play this casually, watch all the cutscenes. They're fun to watch. You get a little bit of story. So now we get to enter the last stage, the Sabu Tower. Sabu is... Oops,
Get to that tower and find our boyfriends.
Oh, look, it's the...
That's a Habari and Mame there. I'll talk a little bit more here. So, Sabu was the final boss in the original Kunio-kun game. If you're familiar with it, it was called Renegade in the Western audiences. Sabu is the leader of a gang, probably a Yakuza gang. So here's a room, just jump on the ledge and run to the right.
Obviously.
So I was kind of mentioning he was Renegade was the game there.
My knuckles are
And
hurting.
Renegade was called Neketsu Koha Kunio-kun in Japan.
Where do you think Kunio and Ricky are?
So lots of name changes in early games.
Odds are they're in his penthouse.
We're going up.
Boy, these guys, they like to do a Hadouken themselves. So we want to try to get on the other side here, because their Hadouken is not blockable. There's another couple names that were changed in the Western audience. I mentioned Mame and Hasabe. In the American version, at least, in Riverside Ransom, they were called Roxy and Cindy. So we're going to get close to the final boss room here. Not quite the final boss, but... Let's make the jump. There we go. So there's this big locked door, and the quote-unquote smart
Find those explosives.
lackey says, well, if you find a bunch of explosives, you can open the door.
Explosives.
So we gotta go back down the tower a bit, collect some explosives, and here we get to fight some more trash zombies. So this is the one exception that we like to use weapons, because zombies only take one attack or one hit, and can save a little bit of time because you get to throw it across the room. So you gotta jump right near the edge. There we go. There are a couple enemies above. If you're playing casually, you can go up that vine and go across and back down. So here we enter the laundry room. Yeah, get it?
Got another one. Hey, careful with that thing.
One more piece of the bomb here.
Another explosive. Let's go.
But I've never been in a casino.
Choco.
But fine.
Now who's looking for you? Sometimes going on the edge like that can help create some space to enter the door, because that can be tricky. So we got our bomb. Gonna plant the bomb at this door and get to see the last boss. It's also really funny.
Okay, explosives planted.
Lucky just
Let's get the heck out of
dance
here.
there. Do, 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 do. Very, very smart Lucky. And here's the last boss, Sabuko.
You're
She is Sabu's daughter. I mean, Sabu is indisposed, which, yeah, means jail. So, basic strategy here is you want to run around, because every time that you run away from her, she's going to teleport. And if you time it well enough, as soon as she materializes, you can usually get an attack on her right away, which you really want to do, because some of her attacks are add-on time and can be a bit annoying. So you want to do your best to avoid that. And there's between each phase here, she comes out with lackeys, and if you're fast enough, you can save a little bit of time. There it is. There we go. Oh, Duken. Just gonna come down. There we go. That's one of her annoying attacks, because she creates a energy below you, so it's hard to get a rhythm down. Got one more phase. There we go. And that's time.
Curse you!
And that, my friends, is River City Girls.
Impossible! Defeated by a pair of schoolgirl deviants.
Hey, thank you so much for the GG. We got some time here. There's a little bit of end scene here.
We can't tear down this whole town.
That'll take just a couple minutes. Actually, about a minute.
Wretched little girls. You should respect power when you see it.
Go for it.
All
They
right.
have mystical tattoo creatures.
And a really sharp sword.
Hey, Norimaki.
That's
Good to see
nothing
you.
compared to the power we have.
Thanks for coming to watch.
And that is
Normaki's a good
You wanna
friend.
tell her?
He's
do it
in several
together.
communities that I belong to, River City Girls, and also a fellow Free Enterprise player. As is JDP, who's also Free Enterprise. But thanks to the GDs, Ten Dog, Pete,
This
JDP.
was a bad idea, wasn't it?
not our smartest plan. Maybe if we twist our bodies just as we land, we can...
Hey, we're not dead.
No, but we're gonna be sore tomorrow.
I wonder what happened to that lady we... Ah!
What is it, Kyoko?
Oh man, you were right, Ricky. A trip to the spa's just what we needed.
I agree, Kunio. It is relaxing.
Huh? Ah, it's girls! Look
The
away!
spa's for men only.
Kunio! You big dummy, we've been looking all over for you!
We thought you were kidnapped, Ricky Poo.
Ah, jeez. It's those crazy girls again. What were their names?
No idea. Come on, let's get out of here.
Yeah. Maybe Hasbe and Mommy are still up.
So, unfortunately, the boys are like, oh, you don't recognize the girls, and you actually find out if you do the secret boss that they did date them, but only one 16-bit game. So that's kind of explains, why that happened. And you kind of understand why the girls punched them, because they risked their lives trying to save them. So like I said, if you do the secret boss, it does twist the ending a little bit, which I think the secret ending is a little bit better. I won't say anything more in case you do want to play it. So like I said, River City Girls is a ton of fun. Like I mentioned, before this game, I wasn't much into main games, but it got me to play it. So if you're interested, especially if you're interested to speedrun it, there's a great community. It's actually, I want to say, decently active right now. We got at least a couple people that are learning to run the game, and we're developing a guide to help speedrun. So plenty of people to help you out if you want to play this game. Thank you. Let me get thin here so the music stops. The music's great, but then I can hear you a little bit better.
Okay.
Actually, the music will go.
Music will fade out.
So yeah, you could do